The breaking point. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Federation stretched nearly half a kilometer across, its transparent dome revealing the dance of three suns against the backdrop of endless stars. Hundreds of species from across known space occupied the tiered seating arranged in a perfect circle. At one of the smaller delegation tables sat 5 humans, their physical presence almost insignificant compared to the towering or expansive forms of other species. Ambassador Lucas Chen massaged his temples, trying to ward off the headache that had become his constant companion during these sessions. For 27 years, humanity had been part of the Federation, contributing innovations, providing military support during the Vorlex incursion, and offering solutions to problems that had stumped older civilizations. Yet despite all this, the senior races, those who had been spacefaring for millennia, treated human delegates with thinly veiled condescension. The human proposition lacks sophistication, announced High Counselor Zeth, his blue-scaled skin reflecting the light from above as his 4 arms gestured dismissively. These medical synthesizers are far too valuable to distribute to developing worlds without proper oversight. Beside Lucas, Dr. Maya Santos tightened her grip on her datapad, her knuckles whitening though her face remained professionally neutral. The medical synthesizers had been her life's work, devices that could produce complex medications from basic compounds, potentially saving billions of lives across resource-poor planets. Commander Elijah Wallace, head of Earth's security contingent, maintained his military posture, but Lucas could see the muscle twitching in his jaw. They had all reached their limit. Perhaps, rumbled Exer Gath of the Muldarian expanse, his massive slug-like body shifting forward. Our human friends require another century of observation before attempting to reshape established galactic policies. A ripple of amusement passed through the assembly. No one spoke in humanity's defense. Lucas felt something shift inside him, like a tectonic plate finally giving way after years of pressure. 27 years of diplomatic deference, of measured responses, of swallowing pride for the greater good. 27 years of watching human innovations being quietly adopted without credit, of seeing Earth's military sacrifices forgotten once the danger passed. He stood slowly, the movement drawing immediate attention. The assembly fell silent. No delegate typically rose unless formally recognized by the High Council. The delegation from Earth has heard enough, Lucas said, his voice clear and unwavering. For nearly 3 decades, we have contributed our technology, our soldiers, our ideas, and our resources to this federation. We have watched our innovations implemented without acknowledgement. We have seen our people die defending worlds that now mock us. The silence deepened as the other 4 human delegates rose as one. Earth hereby withdraws from the Galactic Federation, effective immediately. Lucas continued, feeling an unexpected lightness as he finally spoke the words they had discussed in private for months. We are returning to our solar system and will maintain isolation. Any vessel entering our space without explicit permission will be considered hostile. Counselor Zeth rose quickly, his upper arms spread wide. This is absurd. You cannot simply. The trade agreements, started another delegate, no longer apply to us. Dr. Santos interrupted, her normally gentle voice hardened by years of frustration. You should have considered the consequences before spending decades treating humanity as children playing at galactic politics. The human delegation moved toward the grand entrance. Voices erupted behind them. Some angry, others alarmed. Several delegates rose from their seats, gesturing frantically. Commander Wallace activated a small device on his wrist. Throughout the station, human military personnel would now be executing their long-prepared withdrawal protocols. Lucas paused at the doorway and turned back to face the chaotic scene. The entire assembly had dissolved into disorder. You will understand what you've lost, he said quietly, though his words somehow carried across the chamber. Then they were gone. Behind them, the most powerful governing body in the galaxy faced something completely unexpected: consequences. The first week after humanity's departure passed with little concern among Federation worlds. Most news feeds treated it as a tantrum that would soon pass. The few voices that expressed concern were quickly dismissed. After all, humanity had been spacefaring for barely a century, while the Federation had existed for millennia. Then the problems began. On the manufacturing world of Telleran Prime, production lines ground to a halt. The specialized alloys required for quantum processors, a refinement process pioneered by human metallurgists, were suddenly unavailable. Engineers attempted to replicate the process, but discovered that key aspects had never been fully shared with non-human technicians. In the Cygnus medical cluster, hospitals reported diminishing supplies of synthetic platelets, another human innovation that had revolutionized trauma care across a dozen species. Emergency requests to Earth's medical corps went unanswered. By the second week, Federation trade routes began showing significant disruptions. Nearly 300 human-operated transport ships had withdrawn from service. The massive cargo haulers that had become the backbone of interstellar commerce were returning to Earth or gathering at human outposts throughout Federation space, preparing for the journey home. The Federation Council convened an emergency session. The initial dismissive attitude had evaporated, replaced by growing concern. "We've lost 17% of our transport capacity," reported the logistics minister, as spindly being whose species had evolved in low gravity. "Critical shipping lanes to the outer colonies are operating at less than half capacity. The humans will return once they've made their point," Councillor Zeth declared, though with less confidence than before. "Their economy depends on Federation trade." A small, previously quiet delegate from the Arcturian systems spoke up. "I'm not certain that's accurate, Councillor. My analysis suggests humans have been systematically reducing their economic dependency on Federation markets for at least 5 years." Screens around the chamber displayed trade data showing a steady decrease in Earth's imports while maintaining export levels. The implications were clear. Humanity had been preparing for this separation for years. "They're bluffing," insisted another councillor. "A species so young cannot survive in isolation." 3 weeks after humanity's departure, the Federation dispatched its most accomplished diplomatic team to Sol system. The sleek vessel carried gifts, concessions, and carefully crafted speeches designed to appeal to human psychology as understood by Federation xenopsychologists. When they reached the edge of human space, they were met not by a diplomatic escort, but by an automated defense platform. Their hails received only an automated response. "Your request to enter Earth-controlled space is denied. Communication may be established through approved channels only." The lead diplomat, who had negotiated peace between the ancient enemies of the Rigel Compact, found himself attempting to persuade an artificial intelligence. His most eloquent appeals were met with the same response: request denied. For the first time in its 16,000-year history, the Federation faced an impasse it could not resolve through traditional means. The humans had simply walked away, and now they were refusing to even engage. Back on Earth, the implementation of Protocol Exodus continued with remarkable efficiency. Defense platforms that had been secretly constructed throughout the solar system were brought online. The massive shipyards orbiting Mars, once building vessels for the entire galaxy, now focused exclusively on Earth's growing fleet. In the asteroid belt, mining operations doubled their output, extracting materials that would soon be needed. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, engineers activated manufacturing facilities that had remained hidden from Federation observers. From his office in the Earth government complex, Lucas Chen watched as the pieces of a plan decades in the making fell perfectly into place. On his wall hung the simple quote from an ancient Earth statesman: "The world only respects those who make themselves respected." As the first month of humanity's isolation ended, the Federation's initial dismissal had transformed into genuine alarm. Supply shortages were reported on dozens of worlds. Medical emergencies went untreated without human-developed treatments. Transportation networks faltered without human navigators and their unique problem-solving approaches. The Federation had never realized just how deeply humanity had integrated into the galactic infrastructure, or how carefully they had positioned themselves to be irreplaceable. And Earth had only just begun to reveal what humanity was truly capable of when freed from Federation constraints. The hidden strength. 6 months into humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Federation, the initial confusion had transformed into full-blown crisis. The once mighty interstellar government now faced challenges on multiple fronts as systems dependent on human innovation began to fail. On the Federation capital world of Nova Centralis, the quarterly economic report projected a 12% contraction across all sectors, the worst decline in 8,000 years. The galactic credit had lost nearly 30% of its value against independent currencies. Trade between the Federation's 57 member worlds had decreased by almost half. "This cannot continue," declared Chancellor Vrax, the crystalline being who headed the Federation's governing council. Their normally lustrous form had dulled with stress. "We have made 17 diplomatic overtures to Earth in the past 6 months. All have been rejected. Perhaps we should consider more persuasive methods," suggested Admiral Kalorn of the Federation Defense Force. The massive reptilian commander had never held humans in high regard, viewing them as upstarts who had advanced too quickly. The Chancellor's crystalline form shimmered with alarm. "You suggest military action against Earth after they've withdrawn peacefully." "Not an attack," the Admiral clarified. "A show of force, perhaps a blockade of their major trade routes with non-Federation worlds, something to bring them to the negotiation table." Before the Council could debate this dangerous proposal, an aide rushed in with an urgent report. The neural network that managed transportation across the Federation's core worlds had suffered a catastrophic failure. The system, based on algorithms developed by human computer scientists, had become increasingly unstable since Earth's withdrawal. Without the regular updates and maintenance from its creators, the entire network had collapsed. Billions of citizens were stranded. Emergency services couldn't reach those in need. Food shipments sat undelivered while populations faced shortages. "This is no longer just about economics," the Chancellor said quietly. "Lives are at stake." Meanwhile, within Earth's solar system, remarkable transformations were underway. The isolation that many Federation analysts had predicted would cripple humanity had instead unleashed unprecedented innovation. In a massive research facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Dr. Sophia Chen, daughter of Ambassador Lucas Chen, stood before a gathering of Earth's leadership. Behind her, a pulsing blue sphere of energy hovered within a containment field. "The Aurora Drive is ready for implementation," she announced to the assembled officials. "Initial tests confirm it achieves 300%, the efficiency of Federation standard FTL systems, while requiring only basic elements for fuel." What no one outside Earth had realized was that humans had been deliberately concealing their most groundbreaking advances. Federation regulations, ostensibly designed to ensure responsible development, had required member species to submit all technological breakthroughs for review. Time and again, human innovations had been deemed premature or requiring further study before being quietly adapted into Federation technology years later. Free from these constraints, humanity's progress had accelerated dramatically. The Aurora Drive was just one of dozens of revolutionary technologies now being rapidly deployed throughout human space. On Mars, vast automated factories produced advanced materials that Federation scientists had declared theoretically impossible. Jupiter's moons hosted energy production facilities that generated power sufficient for 1,000 worlds. The asteroid belt had been transformed into a defensive perimeter utilizing principles that rendered traditional Federation scanning technology useless. Earth was not merely surviving isolation, it was thriving. Admiral Kalorn's patience had run out. Without explicit council approval, he assembled a diplomatic escort of 27 warships, the largest fleet the Federation had deployed since the Vorlex conflict. Their mission: establish an observation position near Earth's solar system and encourage human representatives to address the growing crisis. "The humans have had their tantrum," he told his captains. Now they will learn that the galaxy's oldest civilization cannot be dismissed so easily. As the fleet approached the outer boundary of Sol system, they detected no defensive platforms, no patrol ships, nothing to suggest humanity was concerned about potential threats. The Admiral allowed himself a satisfied smile. Perhaps the humans had overextended themselves after all. "Transmit our terms," he ordered. "Inform Earth that we are prepared to negotiate their return to the Federation, with certain concessions on both sides." The response came not as a transmission, but as a blinding flash of light that momentarily overwhelmed their sensors. When the systems recovered, the officers stared in disbelief at their displays. A human fleet had appeared from seemingly nowhere, not 20 or 30 ships, but hundreds. Vessels of design configurations never before seen by Federation sensors surrounded the diplomatic mission in a perfect sphere formation. "This is Captain Elena Dubois of Earth Defense Forces," came a calm voice over the communication channel. "Your fleet has entered restricted space without authorization. You will power down weapons systems and prepare for escort out of human territory." Admiral Killorn bristled. "This is Admiral Killorn of the Federation Defense Force. We come under diplomatic authority to address urgent matters affecting billions of lives. Your withdrawal has caused substantial suffering across." "Your diplomatic credentials were not recognized," Captain Dubois interrupted. "And responsibility for any suffering lies with those who spent decades exploiting human innovation while dismissing human voices. You have 5 minutes to comply with power-down instructions, or we will take defensive measures." The Admiral stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Federation scans couldn't penetrate the hulls of the human vessels, couldn't identify their weapon systems or power sources. His 27 warships, the pride of the Federation fleet, were completely surrounded and outmatched by technology he couldn't begin to comprehend. "How?" he whispered. "How could they have advanced so far without our knowledge?" On the primary Federation diplomatic vessel, a secure transmission arrived for the senior envoy. It was from Ambassador Chen himself, the first direct communication from Earth's leadership in 6 months. "We hid in plain sight," the message read. "Every time you dismissed our ideas as simplistic, we stopped sharing our best work. Every time you took credit for our innovations, we kept the next generation of advancements secret. We learned that you only respect power, so we built it quietly while you weren't paying attention." The Federation fleet withdrew under escort, its mission a humiliating failure. Reports of the encounter spread rapidly throughout Federation space and beyond. Species that had been considering joining the ancient alliance now hesitated. Some existing members began questioning the leadership that had so catastrophically mishandled relations with humanity. 3 days later, Earth transmitted terms of engagement to the Federation Council. They were not rejoining. That option was explicitly off the table, but they were willing to establish new relationships based on mutual respect and fair exchange. "Humanity does not seek conflict," the proposal stated. "We seek recognition as equals, not subordinates. We will trade with those who treat us fairly. We will share with those who share in return. We will defend ourselves against any who mistake our previous patience for weakness." In the council chamber, the mood was somber as the implications became clear. The Federation had not lost a young minor member. They had driven away what might have become the most innovative and resourceful civilization in the galaxy. "How could we have been so blind?" asked an elderly Velian counselor, his optical appendages drooping with regret. Chancellor Vrax's crystalline form reflected the subdued lighting of the chamber. "We became victims of our own history. We saw them through the lens of our age rather than recognizing their unique potential. We treated them as children when they were simply different. The Federation would survive this crisis, but it would never be the same." The comfortable certainty of being the galaxy's unquestioned authority had been shattered. For the first time in thousands of years, the ancient civilization would need to adapt rather than expecting others to conform to its established ways. On Earth, Lucas Chen stood at the window of his office, looking up at the night sky. Stars that had once represented the Federation's vast reach now held different possibilities. A galaxy where humanity would forge its own path, establish its own connections, and build a future based on earned respect rather than granted concessions. Was it worth it? Asked Dr. Santos, who had joined him for this moment of reflection. Lucas nodded slowly. For centuries we looked to the stars and imagined a grand community of worlds. The reality disappointed us, but that doesn't mean the dream was wrong. He turned to face his old friend. We didn't leave the galaxy. We just left an organization that had forgotten how to grow. Now we'll build something better. Across human space, ships prepared for journeys to independent worlds and non-Federation systems eager to establish direct relations with Earth. The isolation phase was ending. What would come next would be humanity's true introduction to the galaxy on their own terms. The Federation had learned a painful lesson. In dismissing humanity, they had dismissed their own future. Some mistakes cannot be undone. They can only be acknowledged and used to build something new from the ruins of misplaced pride.